Greetings, YouTube. There is an official technological book for Pathfinder, and I own a copy. I think I might have a physical copy, but I also have a digital copy. But there's a product from the PFSRD Publishing, the D20 PFSRD Publishing, and I picked this up from a deal I got where they were selling all of their D20 based material for like 90+% off. So I picked up everything they've ever got, and that stuff for 5th edition and Pathfinder and some OSR stuff I think might be in there too. And they come up with the Technical Reference Guide. Now, what is the Technical Reference Guide? Well, the problem is that you can't use the official reference guide put out by Paizo. They won't let you make a reference to it. So, for example, here you go. So here is the little blurb I'm going to be, you can always read right out of the book. It's from the introduction. The Technological Reference Guide, TRG, this book, is designed to simplify the process of dealing with and adding technological items to your Pathfinder role-playing game. The official guidebook of technology items from Paizo Incorporated cannot be referenced by name in products carrying the Pathfinder-compatible logo, so this book is intended to stand in as its replacement. None of the rules herein are a change or alteration of existing open gaming content, but this book may be referenced by name by other OGL-based projects. So they're creating you something, presenting you something that you can reference. They're allowing you to reference it, so you can use this in place of the Paizo's official technological book. And in the process of doing this, kindness to our community, they are also offering us the chance to spend our money and put it into their pockets. So this is definitely using the P1 system. This is the Pathfinder First Edition system, and they're presenting technological items that can be fused into your standard high fantasy game if that's what you want. And there is a tradition for that. I mean, just in the original AD&D, we had a number of different adventures that had distinctly absolute, overtly science fiction elements, lasers and powered armor, robots existed, and we all had a fusion of it. And all of us had, I mean, I've got a portrait on the wall of a high-level ranger who's got a blaster on his belt, okay? Yeah, we all did this kind of stuff. So they're trying to make this as an entry level as easy as possible. So it said no new skills specifically dealing with advanced technology are necessary, but several existing skills gain new uses. So they're not offering new skills, but they are saying, okay, the existing skills can be used this way with these technological devices. Now, one of the things I thought about while I was reading this, and I fully enjoyed myself when I was reading this, was I'm like, this book doesn't cover biotechnology really. And I did some searching, and nobody seems to be covering biotechnology when it comes to Pathfinder First Edition. I can't speak of 5th edition. I can't speak of P2. Maybe there are books out there that deal with biotechnology, but to the best of my knowledge, there aren't any for P1. Let me check my time. Okay, check out my time here. All right, and so I thought, well, this guide right here can be referenced, which means it can be used by anybody in any way they need to, so long as they're referencing it, so long as you're giving credit where credit's due. So why don't we look at this book, and instead of looking at it as an introduction to technology as we understand it, you know, this kind of thing, let's look at it from the lens of how could you use this, file the serial numbers off. Hey, I've got a file right here. We're going to use this file, we'll file the serial numbers off, and we're going to then turn it into biotechnology. So some of the same skills they're talking about can be used. You'd have to probably tweak them. But what I find interesting is we're going to get into the feats. Like right out of the back, out of the gate rather, the first thing they do is a new feat, craft cybernetics. So boom, now you're doing craft biotechnology. So that's an important one. So here's a little list of the feats that they've got. Craft cybernetics becomes craft biotechnology. Craft pharmaceuticals, you don't have to change that. Now you're using biotech instead of conventional forms of chemistry. Craft technological arms and armor. Again, now you're just doing craft biological biotech arms and armor. Craft technological item, craft biotech item. Robot's Bane, no robots. That one probably doesn't need to exist. Scavenger's Luck, that's still can you because you can be using the ability to scavenge biological resources from other creatures and incorporate them into your new creations or into people's bodies. Pardon me. Technologist. This can use skills with technological subjects. So again, this is a version for biotech. Technological adept, which you gain a bonus for what you're doing. Again, that becomes biotech. Technophobe, which makes you good at sundering and destroying biotech instead of technology. And rest charge, which is you can jury rig a depleted battery to hold one charge. So maybe you could have something that allows you to give a energy boost to an otherwise depleted biotech item. Because instead of using batteries, you'd be using some kind of gel packs or nutrient baths and things like that to do the kinds of things that you want to do for biotech. Now, I know that there have been high fantasy versions under the D20 umbrella that did allow people to take biological components from one creature and incorporate them into another. I know it is in Radiance, and I'm thinking it was in at least a 3.5, if not a Pathfinder supplement that allowed you to do that. So I can very much see that becoming a thing where people who have specialized in biotechnology are harvesting organs from creatures and then building them into people's bodies, just the way they could harvest cybertech items from robots and dead enemies, and then help your teammates put those cybernetics into their bodies. So now we're going to get into the actual items themselves. I'm just going to give you a quick overview. I'm not going to go through every single item here. So we're kind of looking at the light armor. So now the light armor is going to give you the type of armor, and it gives you the whole gist of the standard things. And for example, heavy weapons harness, you can still have one of those under biotech. A scatter light suit, you could have one of those. There's no reason it can't be biotech. A chameleon suit, obviously that's right and absolutely something that's in the rubric of biotech. We have deep diving suit. You climb inside an organism, and the organism fuses to your body and allows you to breathe and remain alive during deep sea voyages. Maybe it actually does the whole liquid breathing thing, like from the Abyss. That would be cool. We have a number of different types of scatter light suits. They all do the same thing. We have smart armor, and you could do that with biotech. Oh, is it dark? Shoot. There was a supplement for, I want to say, champions. I could be wrong. Could have been, I'm not positive on this one. And it was a biotech, and it was done by a big name. Was it done by Monty Cook? But yeah, it was a beautifully illustrated that did a very similar concept to what I'm talking about here. But it was not for D&D, and it's been long out of print. Lots of scatter light suits, and again, that's you get the idea. Suits that help you to defend you from different types of energy, incoming energy and things like that, lasers and stuff, and you can have that be biologically based. And then a gravity suit, which helps you function in high gravities, and that also could be completely done in biotech. Just again, you're climbing inside an organism to fuse yourself with its biologic operation. And then we get into a panic suit, which is an emergency suit for medium armor. An HEV suit, again, that's okay. The nanite ablative armor, and nanites in biotech are really close cousins. We just a standard space suit, and you can do that. And then we get a shield, which is a hard light shield, and there's no reason you can't have a biotech shield or that was created by a biotech device that has a um, operation. It's an organism that you feed it, whatever the power source of you want to use, biogel or whatever it is, nutrient packs, and that let you to help defend you from incoming attacks. Um, sorry, how about? Yeah, this is only. Now we're going to get into technological weapons. We're going to do the same, very similar thing. Now this is going to be a little bit different because you're not going to be able to use some of the classic science fiction items. For example, lasers, I don't see. Okay, that I just don't see it. I don't see a laser being something to do with biotech without stretching the point of it to the point you're just making technology. I want it to be organic. But stun baton, yeah, 100% biotech. A mono whip, that can be done. A null blade, which is, what the hell is a null blade? Yeah, I think it's just it's like a super sharp blade kind of thing. You can do that. An auto grapple, that can, of course, you have the spider launchers from Spider-Man. A chainsaw, you could do something that chews through things. Dart gun. Now here is a perfectly acceptable biotech thing to use, a dart gun. The death ray, not so much, but then again, it's a world of space fantasy. You just got spells. EMP pistol, I can't see EMP devices. Flare guns, there are creatures that do create a spark, so maybe you could justify that one. Gravity pistol, I don't see a gravity pistol or a gravity rifle being something that could be used. What is it? 1 second. Okay, there's an ID pistol, which actually fires a dart of nanites. So you could fire a dart of a very high active virulent spore into someone's body. So I could think that dart weapons in general are something you're going to be able to do with. You're also going to be able to do lots of electrical things. That's perfectly acceptable. Acid, that's perfectly acceptable. And thunder or sonic. Reading a lot of 5th edition, they call it thunder. That's perfectly acceptable as well. And I think with those things, you're not going to really miss some of the more classic lasers and stuff in your game. What is a nuclear resonator? You're not going to be able to have one of those. No blade is a +1 construct Bane bastard sword. Oh, okay, that's designed for that. You could have something that's designed to take on constructs, I think. A plasma thrower, I think that would be reasonable. Rocket launcher, you couldn't have a rocket launcher that conventions that, but you'd have something that fires pods, like seed pods, and it launches them kinetically. That could be something that works as well. Again, a sonic pistol, that's perfectly acceptable. Stun weapons make absolute sense. Then we get into technological gear. Let's take a look at some technological gear. Access cards, those are perfectly acceptable. They're just bioreaders. You have a bioreader built into you that gives you permission to be allowed in a certain area, and they could be copied, or maybe you can find a way of cutting off the limb, and you find a way of keeping the nutrients feeding the system so that you can then use that against that person's will. Then we have batteries, power cables, and power receivers. So in this case, you're going to be using some kind of nutrient packs or gel packs and things like that to power it. And I could say maybe even see a feat that lets you use the ability to feed your technology from the environment. So you can actually feed it plants or meat, and your biotech items can still function. Imagine power armor that's designed to absorb the nutrients of things you just killed. That's cool. That in my book. Okay, now we get into some other gear. We have grenades. So some of those make sense, like a bang grenade, arc grenade, spore clouds, even a concussion grenade. I think that could probably be pulled off. A flash grenade could be done. Fragmentary grenades, but they're probably not going to be as powerful. No gravity. Inferno maybe. No plasma. Sonic, of course. Those are all definitely things. Chemical cameras, probably not. But a chemical analyzer, that makes perfect sense. A clone pod, absolutely. Filter mask, yep. A goo tube, which is for sticking things together. A medical lance, yep. All kinds of nanite stuff, which again would be perfectly acceptable in a biotech system. Built-in skill chips. There's the possibility that they've come up with a way of copying the memories of others and putting them into, say, crystals, which is, I think, not too far from biotech. And you could use that. So I think you could have a chip version of that. Trauma pox. That's all the healing stuff that makes perfect sense. What else do we have in here that might be useful? What page am I up to? I'm up to 31, so we're halfway there. What are we going to get to next? These are still more technological items. Ion tape. Probably not. A lighter? You could probably come up with that. A lock coder. In a biotech world, maybe you could have literally things that you put into a conventional lock that can reach in there and allow you to pick it more effectively. Nanite canisters, med lance, we covered that one. Neurocam, no. A quantum box, no. A robot jack is a strange rod-like device that can be used to usurp control of another otherwise functional robot. So I can see that again by getting into if your enemy is using biotech versions of constructs. They're not fully functioning creatures. They're not sentient. They're sentient, but they're not sapient. So they don't have minds of their own, but they're filling that same role that constructs do. They're just biological, and I like that idea quite a bit. Tracking chip, we can probably do that with biotech, just like a scent power. And then we get into a bunch of stuff on pharmaceuticals, and there's no reason you can't use pretty much any pharmaceutical from the real world or from a high fantasy or a science fiction fantasy setting out of the gate, because it's just being produced by an organism as opposed to a chemical lab. Now we get into cybertech, and this is also completely doable for biotech. We have a cybernetic arm. That makes sense. You're just taking it off somebody else, or you're growing a new one that maybe has new abilities. Implanted weapons. Yep. Biofilter, cyber filter, muscle, cyber fiber muscle. Yep. You can do all kinds of augmentations that way. Pardon me. Dermal plating. That's perfectly acceptable. Thoracic nanite chamber. I think that it makes your constitution go up. A wire jack. You're probably not going to need that unless you have biotech weapons that you can jack into to get better control of. So you pick up a weapon, and then you literally send tendrils into it and become one with that weapon. A frenzy chip, that our skill slot. We could be using crystals for those. I don't have a problem with that. Cybernetic ears, eyes, a cranial bomb, that could work too. Though it will probably be poison-based more than explosive. Then you could probably do a small explosive. I mean, we have bombardier beetles in the real world. Cybernetic legs, yep. But different versions of that. Cyber art, there's no reason you couldn't have biological art that is presented to the world. May it be, moving things or patterns or slowly morphing designs on your body that you are possess built right into your skin. Body modifications have a whole new world available to them when you're using biotechnology. All right, what else do I got here that I might be able to steal for? Now we get into some high stuff like power generators. You're not going to need power generators so much, so that's not going to be something. Then we get into time-worn technology, the things that have been sitting around for a while. So maybe some of the biotech goes dormant, and you have to use skill to get it to wake up again. It has glitches and problems with technology. That makes perfect sense. You could probably have that with biotech too. Things that don't work out quite the way that you intended. There was a science fiction story that I read a long time ago, and it dealt with a species that had very much taken on to modifying themselves, and one of their members escaped on a ship, but their ship was not going to get a little starfighter thing, and it was not going to get anywhere in time to keep this person alive in their current form. So they literally slowly morphed into a sphere with this hard egg-like shell that just pulled all their, that just, there was nothing but organs inside this in this amorphous goo, but it kept them alive for like decades until they could get themselves into a new atmosphere. Then slowly the egg began to reform their body, and they emerged in this very body horror kind of way. And I really like that. There's the whole section on crafting cybernetic things and technological things, and you just change all that for biotech. So that is not something that it's going to be difficult to do. And then we get into the whole open gaming license thing for Pathfinder, the PFSRD. So here you can see there's a lot of things you could do with this product. You can use it as it is. It's going to be more versatile to you if you ever want to get a product published. You don't have to worry about dealing with Paizo at all. And I've just shown you how just on the fly, well, I thought about this a little, but I didn't write anything down for this. You can adapt this into a biotech source. Or maybe there are lots of people out there that are using technology alongside magic, but there are some that don't do it. Maybe your elves are all biotech, or there were biotech halflings from Dark Sun. They were uber cool, and they had some biotech items which would be very appropriate to what I'm talking about here. So yeah, this is an idea that I like, just taking a product that exists that you're allowed to use, reskinning it into a new use, and you have something completely different that has an absolutely different flavor to it entirely. So let's talk about biotech. Do you like it? I'm a transhumanist. I love the concept of biotech. I would love to be able to modify my body so it worked. Say, a new pancreas because I am diabetic. Better eyes. Better teeth. I don't have the best teeth. It's like, there's lots of things I would change about it. I'd be thinner. I might have hair. Or maybe a fin. How do you think I'd look with the fin? Do you think that'd be cool? Alrighty, so let's talk about biotech and what we do with it in our games and how you can adapt it from other sources.